Doug, I ask this of people sometimes, what's your superhero backstory? I like saying it like that instead of like, hey, what's your resume? Or like, because nobody wants that. But like, what's your superhero, like kind of PT evolution backstory, that got you to this point?
Well, that's a great way to put it. I am a self-proclaimed giant running nerd, and that has been my superpower kind of along the way here. I have that typical story of I had a lot of injuries in high school and had a cross-country coach that would just drive a certain distance and say, "Run until you see my car." He would sit and smoke in his car, and we'd turn around when we got to his car. So surprisingly, I got a bunch of injuries in high school, but it led me to do like a senior paper I started doing triathlons in high school. Led me to do a bunch of senior paper because I spent a bunch of time in PT, rehabbing my own running injuries, and then went to University of Delaware, got really lucky with some great mentors there. Irene Davis, Rich Willie, Lynn Snyder-Mackler. We did gait analysis together when I was a student, when I was a resident. After my residency, did some research together with them, had a chance to really get access to some of the top minds in the world and be the lackey that was writing up the reports and doing that stuff, but really learning as much as I could from them. And then because I had that taste of academia, when I got into the clinical setting, I really missed a lot of those tools and resources. So that's when I always say I teach a lot of courses, and I've taught. We just passed over 10,000 people that have taken some of our education. We're really thrilled about that. And I always say I'm like medium smart. Like I'm enough that I can understand the research, and I kind of knew that, but I'm dumb enough that I need to simplify it and put it in a very systematic approach that makes it really easy for me to do.
Right.
And a little bit, I like to be comprehensive with these things. So I try to have the system do everything. So that's really where we started teaching courses in about 2012, 2013, started teaching a lot of courses on how to work with runners. And we developed, and it turned into what we now call our Certified Running Gate Analyst courses, and just continued on there. And then being in a clinical setting, I didn't have access to the technology. So I looked up a camera system and didn't have $500,000 for a camera system.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
No. So I just decided to build my own, and built my own, and then started using that. And then the military found out about it, and they were using it a bunch. And then we started using a bunch of PT clinics. And so now I'm just a giant running nerd that gets to spend all day either treating runners in my cash-based PT practice in Wilmington, Delaware, or helping others treat runners across the globe now, which is a lot of fun. So I've just giant running nerd.
There's a lot to unpack there because I love story, right? My lens is communication and PT, but I can't not look through this lens of communication, right? So I'm just going to throw out things that stood out at me. Number one, you started and ended with the same phrase, which is cool because it's like how you were doing what you were doing changed, but who you were didn't. So there's your driving force through the whole thing. It's like, I'm just a big running nerd, which is really cool. You mentioned like two names of, I don't know, like if you had the Mount Rushmore of like running physical therapy, like I don't even know who else you'd put on, right? Irene Davis and Rich Willie, like that's pretty legit. And you got to hang out with them, like just hang out there and just
definitely absorb, some who luck, right? Some timing and some who luck there that they just all aligned. And I just got a chance to really pick their brains and learn as much as I could. And that's actually one of the advice I give a lot of PT students or aspiring PT students is always look at the university, what the faculty are doing for research. And if you're not interested in their research, then you're not going to learn as much from that person as you potentially would.